Hehehehe and happy freaking new year, let's go. My brodas is another year, isn't that crazy? For me it is. A whole new year. Hi Ace. Hi Doc. Hello new Mad. Hi Onolith. Yeah, it is 2026 voice, yay.
Wow.
Another year, same old me.
My brodas, I just sleep
Wow.
lolololol. I set my alarm for the Happy New Year. I text at Discord and yeah, basically. I heard lots of noise. Also I tried to send some videos but audios but the loudness couldn't be heard. Sag. But it was everything loud AF. Onolith, thanks you so much. Doc, thanks you so much. My brodas, thanks a lot for the first day support. What, thanks a lot. Thanks. When it was 12, that was crazy. The fireworks everywhere and other pyrotechnic by 1000. The sounds I was hearing was crazy and kinda scary. Some of the pyrotech was mega strong, the noise and all. Yeah, people went wild, but yeah, another full turn of the sun. Yay. Happy New Year. Why does it smells the same as 2025? IDK, maybe you're still off-dated. What I mean by that it is that update your air. OMG, I saw a post of people selling air in Japan already, lololol. It was lots of bags with the year written and yeah, basically that. People were already selling last year air. Lolololo. I don't know, the noise for me is super scary when it's too strong. But yeah is okay. I haven't heard a thing today. So yeah, I guess people give all yesterday. Lololo. I like fireworks, but the sound is too scary. And yeah, cuz I don't really like 'em, so I guess. It's just the visual part. OMG, Win 11 on an old PC? And how it went? Hi, Rice. But yeah, my brodas, we love pollution, lololol. Enjoy dinner, Rice. Thanks, yeah, we hit 100 days, yay. When I even had the chance to play with fireworks, I never did, cuz scary, lol. I felt kinda sad for a moment, but since I was sleepy lolalalal. I just went back to sleep. Yeah, I was sludge. Lololo. Well, I didn't played with them 'cause I like my hands and my fingers. And yeah, basically. Hi ZVJ. New Year, my broda's New Year. Wait, is for someone already too? Wait, is for someone already too? Here's still one, but like is already day 2 there. What is slappy lol? Damn, this people lives in the future. How's the 2026 day 2? Yeah, slappy sounds like a lil slap. Small slap. Slappy. Lolalol. 6 hours damn. Lot like day 1, well here still day 1 womp womp, so off date. Hi Bixby. Yeah, hell nah, I don't play with me so no things happens. Yeah, hell nah, I don't play with him so no things happens. So if you don't even do it, there's no risk of happening. Simple as that. I do saw other people do M. Cute emote Bixby. Here people clean. Well they brum all. Well they brum all. With the broom. I don't know how effective it is. Lololo. But they do. I remember seeing neighbors cleaning with a dustpan and broom when I was a child.
OMG dog, thanks for the spam.
Appreciate the help. Please also vote for Proxy if you can, she is also nominated. Wait, I mean Jinxie. Well, both. Sorry, yolalalolo. Vote for all the people that is near, please. Sorry, I am dumb AF, please vote for both. Sorry if I mistook. My bad, now I feel like shito. Amen. Can't say anything without screwing up. Guess that's my superpower. I swear. Lolololol.
Lololololo.
Sorry. I feel bad 'cause I fuck it up, my bad. Cuz both had show lots of support, my bad. I am just dumb, my bad. I will be more careful. Sorry again, I just that both had treat me so good that I feel bad for fucking it up like that. My bad, my bad. Hi Duck, Happy New Year. Hope day was good, thanks you Duck. Same for you. Thanks for the good wishes. It's Thursday. You know, I was kinda lost on what day it was today, Lolo. OMG Lololo. It's just strange that it happened on a day like this. It's like New Year's Eve is a Monday. Something feels off, lololol. OMG, please burrito people, enjoy lots and have a nice chill burrito time. Oh wow, enjoy cozy cold time Rocky. My brodas, let's watch a video the first of da year. I wonder what should we watch, like I have picked stuff, but now I wonder if that's something I would like to play as the first vid of the year. I gotta make nice decision. I gotta make a nice decision. Uma sounds proper. Send the vid please, Darth. Year of Horses. I finded something.
何してんの？
分かってる。
注目ですね。
おえうま娘。
何するんですか？走るんです。
What's this show even about? Lololo.
To とりあえず痛み止めを打っておきましょう。
なんでお注射持ってるの？お願い。嫌なこと思い出させないでください。今さら？こう。
Lol. Lololololo. Y'all want to watch Uma Masumi? That would be cool. It seemed funny. But made me remember the Love Live animation. I think maybe is the same animation house? I don't know. Well, next vid. And with it I declare first vid of the year. Next one is how many trees are there in Skyrim?
How many trees are there in Skyrim?
Don't look it up. Don't read the comments. Just think about it for a second. You think there are more than 1,000? More than 10,000? 100,000? I'm sure it's obvious, but today that's what we're going to try to figure out, and we're going to do it without using any mods. I'm literally going to go inside Skyrim as a character, walk around, and just count them. Like 1, 2, 3, you know? Once I think I know how many there are, we're going to get someone to dig into the game files, figure out the actual number, and see how close we actually got. But in order to make this really fun, I'm not going to be the only one guessing. I've enlisted the help of 10 other incredible creators and one very special guest, each of whom will also try to guess the number of trees, and then at the end of the video, we're going to see who was closest to the real number, and whoever was wins a $10,000 donation to the charity of their choice. Surprise! Now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, like which trees actually count and what even qualifies as a tree, and I will answer all of those questions shortly, but first, I want you to think of your own guess. You can even write it down in the comments if you want to, and then compare your guess to the very first number from
Okay, we are playing.
one of our guest participants.
Hello Internet, my name is Matthew Patrick, better known online as MattPat, and I have been asked the question, how many trees are there in Skyrim? Yes, that is an example of a tree. Thank you for the camera work there, Steph. Taking it at face value and assuming, you know, if I were just to put out a number out there into the world, I'm gonna guess 83,762 trees. That's my guess. Good luck.
Okay, so MattPat himself, possibly the most qualified person on the planet for this particular question, outside of an actual forest surveyor, thinks there are 83,762 trees in Skyrim. We will see if he's right later on. Now, when I first came up with this idea, which was actually inspired by a joke comment someone made on one of my community posts, I legitimately thought I was just going to be able to open up Skyrim, pick a starting point, and then just walk around and count the trees by hand. You know, I thought it would take maybe a few hours, but with a little bit of patience, I could pull it off and have a perfectly accurate count within a day or two. But I was very wrong about that. Oh my God. How am I gonna... Okay, maybe that's like 10, 20, 30, 50, and then maybe like 50. There are clearly a lot of trees in Skyrim, way more than I initially thought, and it was obvious I was going to need a more sophisticated system for trying to count them. So I decided we would basically do 3 levels of guessing, each one more complicated than the last one. So to start, we're just going to eyeball it, you know, vibe it out, which basically meant, you know, running around forested areas, rapidly counting as many trees as I could, and then just finding a high enough vantage point that I could see far enough to guess how many there might be in a total area. Sort of like a weird, very immersive version of a jelly bean counting contest. I thought there were maybe 7,000 trees near Falkreath, maybe 8,000 or so around Morthal here, 10,000 down here in the aspen forests near Riften. It wasn't perfect, but I thought I'd at least be getting sort of in the ballpark with all of these guesses. But the more I walked around, man, the more it became clear that this was going to be an absolutely gargantuan task. 100, okay, we're just gonna say 2,000, we're just gonna call it 8,000 in this whole valley. How about that? And on top of that, I had to figure out exactly what even counted as a tree for this survey, which sounds silly, but it's actually more complicated than you might think. This was actually something that MattPat brought up in his video submission that I very rudely cut out for pacing, so let him explain it to you.
This might be a trick question, Eddie Austin, might be, because technically speaking, trees don't exist. The biological definition of a tree is just like a label that we've arbitrarily put on certain plant life out there. So this could be a trick question, and the real answer is that no trees exist in Skyrim because the definition of tree is a nebulous concept.
So after giving it some thought, I decided I was going to keep the rules extremely simple. Trunk, tall, branches. If it looks like a tree, I'm counting it as a tree. We're using the kindergarten definition of a tree. Got it? So in the end, purely based on vibes, I decided that my first guess was going to be 41,500 trees in Skyrim. And that's just from me walking around and eyeballing it. So less than half of MattPat's guess, which obviously makes me a little bit nervous. In fact, why don't we see what some of our other participants guessed and then see if that makes us feel any better.
My name is Juve, and I believe that there are 1,627 trees in the hit 2011 video game, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Well, hello. My name is Kate. Taking an educated guess from the amount of time I've spent roaming that map for my entire adult life, it feels like at this point, I would say that there is at least 38,752.
Hello. Oh, that light's really bright. I'm H Bomber Guy, and I think there are 45,000 trees in Skyrim. And if there aren't, there should be. Goodbye.
All right, 3 more guesses on the board. I'm not sure if that does make me feel better, but I think it did. So the question now is, if there are too many trees to actually count them one by one, which there definitely is, and just wandering around trying to guess based on vibes isn't trustworthy, what can we do to get a more accurate count without cheating? You know, I'm not trying to lose my own competition after all, which is why we're going to move on to our second method of guessing, random sampling. I know it sounds really stupid, but according to science, if we just randomly count trees in a bunch of different spots across Skyrim, there's a way that we can use math to estimate the total number of trees in the game with a high degree of certainty. I know, I'm skeptical too, but apparently it's real. Basically how it works is we're going to use a multi-stage random number generator to pick a random point on our map, and then from that random point we're going to walk a randomly selected number of paces in a randomly selected direction. Once we get to wherever that leads us, we drop an item on the ground to serve as a marker, and then count every single tree within 25 meters of that point, and then take that number, divide it by the area of the circle, which is about 1,820 meters squared, which will then give us the average number of trees per meter squared. And then once you do that, you do it again. A whole bunch. The more times, the better. 1, 2, 3, certainly. 5 trees. Not very many, you guys. Not very many. I mean, we could call it 3 if we're being generous. I guess between those two, we'll call it 3. 6, I count that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, just for the math geniuses out there, I did fudge my numbers in the explanation there just to make it easier to follow, because we actually used paces to judge all of our distances, like literal walking paces in the game, but rest assured, the math does check out. I'll leave a link down below to the complete data set if you want to dig through it yourself and find all of the mistakes I made. I ended up taking 20 of these random samples, and I noticed 2 really interesting things about Skyrim while doing this part of the survey. Firstly, the amount of trees. The game really doesn't have that many trees. In my head, Skyrim is this super woodsy game where the paths are always lined with forests full of wolves, but in reality, take a look at this. This is a fantastic topographical map of Skyrim that was posted on Reddit 13 years ago by a user named InsanoFlex, who, among many other fun details, mapped out all of the areas in the game that they thought had tree coverage. It's not perfect. There are places on this map that look like they don't have trees, but then if you go there in the game, they do, but it's more than good enough for this purpose. And it shows that only about 35% of the playable area in the game has tree coverage. And a lot of that tree coverage isn't even very dense. So that's interesting compared to just what I thought about Skyrim in my head. But the second interesting thing is the tree varieties. The majority of trees in this game are some kind of pine tree, and there are some variations from region to region in terms of how those look. But maybe the most interesting trees are these ones in the Reach. The closest real-life analog to them is something called a bristlecone pine or some sort of other wind-stunted survivalist tree, which can be found all over the western United States. And what's interesting is that these trees in real life are known for being extremely resilient to harsh climates, poor soils, and high winds, which fits perfectly with their in-game location of the Reach, which is windy, dry, and mountainous. Environmental storytelling. So cool. Anyway, now that I have all of my samples, how do we turn those samples into an estimate for the total number of trees in Skyrim? Well, all we need to do is take the average number of trees per square meter in our samples, which is 0.0016, and then apply that
Bro, what?
number to all of Skyrim. You know, basically what we're saying is, hey, we looked around and found that on average there are 0.0016 trees per square meter in a bunch of different random places, so we're going to assume that on average that's going to be the case across all of Skyrim. There's just one problem. We don't know how big Skyrim is. People online often say that it's about 31.7 square kilometers, but that includes a whole bunch of area that isn't actually part of the playable game, and it's also based on data pulled from the game's code converted to kilometers by somebody that we don't know, that we don't trust. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying we don't know that it's right. So the solution to this, of course, is obvious. I had to recalculate Skyrim size on my own using paces. So that's what I did. And it took some time, but it actually wasn't super complicated. I basically just used the grid that we have to walk between various points, counting the numbers of paces between those points until I figured out that these little squares were 221 meters on each side. Then I figured out how many of those little squares were actually inside the playable area of Skyrim, did some quick math and discovered that Skyrim's entire playable area is approximately 17.8 square kilometers, or 17,854,707 square meters. If you remembered from above, we estimated with our survey that there are, on average, 0.0016 trees per square meter in the game. So we just take that number, multiply it by the total number of square meters, and we get 28,006 trees in Skyrim. Now, this is a pretty reasonable guess, but I'm going to add 1,500 extra trees to this number because I know for a fact that there are some trees out of bounds in this game, like these ones here, and there are also some that are inside of caves or cities, which would not have been included in our survey, which brings my official second guess to 29,506 trees in Skyrim, which is a lot lower than my eyeball guess, and I'm very curious how it stacks up to a few more of our guesses from our participants. Let's roll some more of those, shall we?
Bandicoot here in a forest near Falkreath, and there are a lot of trees around here. My guess is 50,000 trees. That seems a little high. My guess is 25,000 trees. Final answer.
Hi, my name's Juniper Dev, and I think that there's at least 3 trees in Skyrim. Specifically 41,937 trees. That's my guess.
Hi, this is YouTube's Jacob Geller, guessing how many trees there are in Skyrim. I've applied all my literary and analytical skills to this, and I'm relatively confident the answer is 7,983 trees. Back to you, Austin.
All right, let's add those 3 to the board. It's starting to get interesting. So in theory, according to mathematics, my second guess here should have the highest likelihood of being correct of all the guesses here because we actually used science to get it or whatever. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling a little bit nervous about it, which is why we're going to do one more survey, this time using the actual methods that would be deployed if you were doing a real field survey of a real area. So as of now, we've got a good selection of guesses from me and others, as well as one scientifically backed estimate, which is different than a guess, over here. But there's one important thing I left out of that first survey that I need to explain to you now before we can do our final survey and reveal the winner of the $10,000 prize. I left out something called the margin of error. You've probably heard about this before in the context of political polls, but the margin of error is kind of like a measurement of how certain we are about our estimate, sort of. It'll honestly make more sense if I just show it to you in context, so let's just do that. The original estimate that we got from our survey was 28,006 trees. Since we only did 20 samples, our margin of error is pretty high. It's about 16,000 trees, which means that in theory, the actual number of trees in the game could be anywhere from 12,000 trees all the way up to a possible 44,000 trees, which sucks. Now, those extreme ends of the scale are less likely to be the actual number than the ones closer to the middle, but they are still possible. And numbers outside of that range are also possible, but extremely unlikely. Now, unfortunately, for some of the people on the board, that means it's probably highly unlikely that the number is going to be as low as Juve's guess, for example, of 1,627, and it's also unlikely to be as high as MatPat's guess of 83,762. So the question for us is, how can we make that margin of error smaller so that our guess becomes more accurate, so that we can be sure that we're going to defeat everybody else at this competition, which of course is the most important part. In real life, if you want to count the number of trees in an area, like let's say you want to know the number of trees in Alaska or something, you don't just literally sample random places in Alaska, whether it's a beautiful lake in a forest or inside of the Anchorage airport outside of the Humpy's Alaskan Ale House, and then derive the density from that. There's no reason to even include something like an airport terminal in your survey because you know there's going to be no trees. And this is basically what we did for our first sampling survey. It works, but there are smarter ways to do it. So what you can do is divide your whole area into zones that you suspect are going to have similar densities. The samples in those smaller zones are going to be a lot more uniform, and that's good because it increases our confidence that the sample is actually representing the true density across the zone. Using the forestry map that I showed you earlier, we're going to divide Skyrim into 4 zones to represent the 4 main biomes of trees that I found in the game. In the north,
Look, I was thinking 20k at the beginning, but there's no shot as 20k. Lololo. Amen.
North, you've got the snowy pine trees. The west has the reach pines that we discussed earlier. The east has the beautiful fall-colored aspens near Riften. And then the center has all of those big green pine trees that we associate with cities like Falkreath. What this means is that all of the land we know is likely empty is not going to count, and therefore those empty samples won't disturb our data as much, and thus our confidence will increase. Statistically, this is way better than the other way that we did our sampling. Instead of our estimate having a 55% margin of error like it did before, this kind of stratified survey is going to let us push that uncertainty down to a 20% margin of error without having to take nearly as many samples as we would using the other method, which is great. So the survey itself ended up going pretty smoothly this time around. I was a lot more prepared for the monotony, and it was almost fun to fill in all of my squares and watch the numbers start to fill themselves out as we went along. Obviously, there were some difficulties in terms of keeping track of our position, and I made just tons of mathematics errors because I'm really out of practice of doing simple math. Someone explain to me why that would, like, why do we have to do 52 squared? I guess that's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Converting my paces into walking paces? Why would it be less? It wouldn't be less. That doesn't make sense. But eventually we fixed all of that, triple checked our data, and once I was able to look at all of the numbers, I noticed something really interesting. The average density of the forests in Skyrim, even when we're only surveying squares that we know have trees in them, is insanely low. On average, our Skyrim forests have a tree density of about 29 trees per acre of land. And if you don't know, an acre is about the size of a football field. A real forest, like say the Black Forest in Germany, has about 250 trees per acre on average, which is nearly 10 times more dense. In a way, this kind of means that Skyrim's forests aren't really forests, at least in terms of realism. They're a lot closer to the density of trees you might find in a place like Central Park in New York, a place that's built by humans for other humans to walk through and hang out in while still feeling aesthetically naturey. Which is interesting because Skyrim is a place that's built by humans for other humans to walk through and hang out in, that's meant to feel aesthetically naturey. It's easy to look at this and go, see, Bethesda doesn't make their games realistic. They should do more research like Kingdom Come Deliverance. But I actually think this is kind of beautiful. Skyrim is just a big giant nature park built by a bunch of people for you. It's made for you. How neat is that? It does make me want to do a tree survey in Kingdom Come Deliverance too, though. I think it would be really cool to examine the differences between those two games, and I bet that even games like that or Red Dead are really not even that close to real as well. Anyway, I've kept you in suspense long enough. Let's hear from our final 3 participants with their guesses, and then I'll give you my final guess.
Hello, it's Jabbo here, Annie Austin's long-lost cousin, and I think there's 32,420 trees in Skyrim.
Hi, my name is Memoria Matters. I'm 5'6", and I'll be applying for the role of Tim Burton's Willy Wonka. Just kidding. I'm Memoria, and I think there are 50,000 trees in Skyrim.
Hello, my name is Snakey with 7 Ys, and I think that there are... Well, let's actually think about this. Skyrim is a pretty big game. It's not as big as you remember because they did a really good job making it feel big, but it's still really big, and it feels like there's a lot of trees. It's got Todd. It's made by Todd. Todd, 16 times the detail. Let's go 1,600. I'm gonna guess 1,600. I don't know if that's too low or too high, but I feel good about that. Thank you for having me. Any Austin, anytime, any place, anywhere. That's why they call him Any Austin. Also, he doesn't have an Audi.
What Jakey said at the end there, that is unconfirmed. He has no formal education in that field whatsoever. All right. A tough competition indeed. Here is our full list. $10,000 on the line. Take one last look at the leaderboard here. Think of your own guess. And now let me reveal my final guess based on the ultimate science survey that we did. So after all that work, we put all our numbers in the formula. We calculated the average densities, and then we applied that to the 35% of the map that has trees on it. And our final best guess for how many trees there are in Skyrim is, drumroll please, 39,840. In theory, out-of-bounds trees should be counted in this number because they were on the map, but let's add an additional 500 trees to account for those indoor trees, which wouldn't be part of the survey, which will bring our official entry onto the board to 40,340. All right, now before we reveal the actual number and decide who's going to win, two things. One, I was kind of bluffing. I'm not actually participating in terms of receiving the money. Just so you know, I had a dramatically unfair advantage due to being a super genius. I guess that's Pete. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So even if I'm the closest, I'm not getting the money. It's going to go to the guest that was the closest. And number two, as you probably saw, we actually do have one more person who submitted a number for the competition. And if I'm not mistaken, this person also came with an extra little message for all of you. So why don't we play that now?
Hey, it's Todd here at Bethesda Game Studios. Just want to give you a shout out. Thank you for the videos. All of us here in the studio love them so much. What a great look at video game worlds. And they're so relaxing and so well done, so detailed. Understand there was a question on Skyrim. Matt?
How many trees are in Skyrim?
How many trees are in Skyrim? I don't know. I could go look it up, of course, but I'm going to go guess-wise 111,111. Let's see how good I do.
And then,
Now
Todd, while you're there, are there going to be more trees in the Elder Scrolls 6 than Skyrim, or less?
Are there going to be more trees in Elder Scrolls 6 or less? More. Most definitely more.
I mean, come on. Not only does Todd Howard come in on behalf of the team at Bethesda with an almost certainly wildly incorrect guess of 111,111, but he also says that the Elder Scrolls 6 will have more trees than Skyrim. I'm sure this is obvious, but I will be fact-checking that when the time comes. All right, the only thing left for us to do at this point is see who's right. In this envelope, I have written down on a piece of paper
OMG.
the exact number of trees in Skyrim using the exact specifications that we set forth in this survey. It was compiled by a friend of the channel, Timon, who you may remember from when I pressured him into making a mod for GTA 5 that fixed all of the street signage. So I really thought he was the perfect person for this as well. He also gave me the idea to turn this into a charity video, so shout out to him for that. And quickly, before I open this envelope, I know I'm dragging this out like crazy, but it's going to be worth it, trust me. Before I reveal the final number, I just want to say to everybody who participated in this video, all of these astonishingly talented and creative and inspiring people that I'm privileged to call acquaintances, or in some cases even friends, thank you very much. And I absolutely include everyone at Bethesda Game Studios in that as well. Just like every hardworking game developer out there, I know there are many of you watching. You all inspire every single second of video that I put onto this website. All right, lock in everybody. Enough of the sentimentality, okay? How many trees are there in Skyrim? For the record, I legitimately do not know the answer to this, so the moment I'm opening it is the moment I'm finding out as well, which means this is all unscripted. All right, I'm nervous that I got it completely wrong, I'll tell you what. Wow. The number of trees in Skyrim is 46,430 trees.
Damn. I was so not close. Okay, trees.
Which means that our winner is H Bomber Guy with a guess of 45,000 trees. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. All of the charities that were picked by the people are going to be listed down below. They are all fantastic charities, so you can go look to them. And if you want to donate on behalf of your favorite creator, please feel free to do so. To every single person watching this, whether this is your first Any Austin video ever, or if you've been watching since Eggbusters in 2013, I owe you one, and I'll keep working to repay that in 20-minute chunks every couple of weeks for as long as I possibly can. Like I said, this is my last video of the year, and I'm taking a little break to catch up on, having a life. So I will see you all in 2026. And I'm Any Austin. Thanks for watching.
Lola lola lolo. Men, that's a lot of trees for a game, but hey, that's okay. Pixel people deserve good pixel air. Lololo. Thanks for sending the vid. As always, like that Onolith lolol. Nothing better than an answer from 10 years ago. Lololo. Next vid is about sharks. Since there's nothing more first day of the year Happy New Year than sharks. Lolololo.
To be fair, I'd pump fake the higher power and anticipate being devoured if I ever saw that in the water with me, let alone in Long Island, at least if I didn't know what it was. So here's some Thresher Shark propaganda. Let alone in Long Island, at least if I didn't know what it was. So here's some
Lol.
Thresher Shark propaganda, because there's honestly nothing to fear. And I mean that more for him than you. This shark needs a lot more reassurance than you do. The Thresher Shark has been out here threshing for over 50 million years, and they spent all of it looking like they really need an adult. Search up social anxiety with gills, you will get a literal baby shark. They're physically designed to be passive. Thresher Sharks can't throw hands, because they don't have any. But if they did, they just twiddle their thumbs behind their back. They look like their entire existence is a jump scare. It's because the big eyes help when grocery shopping where the sun barely shines part-time. They have the same tapetum lucidum layer that cats have, which reflects light back into the retina and gives sharks night vision. Perfect for snatching prey out the dark like the Reaper. The big eye thresher took that trait and pushed the slider all the way to the edge. Cause yeah, there's actually 3 species of shark under the Thresher Shark umbrella. The common thresher, the pelagic thresher, and the big eye thresher, which is a baby Looney Tunes version of the concept, with eyes rotated and angled toward the top of the head so the big eye can see directly above it.
I think its tail is cool AF.
Those eyes are a cheat code when playing hide and seek with the things they eat. They're also the caricature of every bystander at Target watching someone's child throw a tantrum. Silent judgment, but crippling in action. And even though the eyes are involved with hunting, the tsundere shark is still pretty introvert coded. Threshers are
Tsunere?
Tsundere? Tsundere?
Tsundere?
And even though the eyes are involved with hunting, the tsundere shark is still pretty introvert coded.
Rororo.
Threshers are as shy as their headshot would suggest, and there's no verified record of one attacking a human. With how timid they are much more afraid of you, and will go out of their way not to be perceived, and will even exhibit vertical migrations, where they spend the day posted down in the cold dark abyss, only to come up to the surface at night to feed. Hence the enemy eyes, especially for a big eye thresher, which is by far the most suited for life in an everyday bird box challenge. They even have a built-in heat system where the big eye has a network of blood vessels called the rete mirabile, I hope I pronounced that right, which circulates heat to the brain and eyes, and this system allows the thresher to thresh in water colder than a Yeti in a brass broth.
Men, imagine you could ride a shark.
without having the metabolism of molasses like the Greenland shark. They wait 150 years to get laid. Nothing about them is fast. In fact, they might as well be the opposite. Where threshers have big eyes for sight, Greenland sharks get blinded by a parasite. And where Greenland sharks are often found where there's polar bears around, threshers can be found in waters worldwide, like under the Atlantic Beach Bridge. But most importantly, where Greenland stomachs have been found with seals, polar bears, and allegedly a human leg, a thresher shark is almost physically incapable of biting you. Their eyes are so big it somehow distracts you from the fact that they have a tiny mouth and some baby-ass teeth too. It's like they were built to be non-confrontational, with teeth that can only really gripe small fish and squid. A mini mouth to go with social anxiety, with a mama I true up face. Now a shark is a shark, and nature didn't cook for longer than Saturn's had rings just to make a shark that couldn't defend itself. But it isn't the teeth. It's the 50 Shades of Grey cosplay a normal person would call a tail. That tail is a lot longer than you think, and it's for slapping the absolute daylights out of prey with a nearly 10-foot whip. That tail hits harder than a job market for a comp sci major, and one hit can incapacitate multiple fish. And once again, that tail comp sci major, and one hit can incapacitate multiple fish. And once again, that tail is a lot longer than you think and can slice prey clean in half. Threshers slap prey so fast, it boils the water around them and creates cavitation bubbles. Cavitation bubbles are small pockets of pure chaos that are thousands of degrees and release incredibly destructive energy when popped. It's the same science the pistol shrimp uses to knock prey straight off the mortal plane, and these bubble nukes mean thresher sharks don't need a direct hit to life-deprive multiple fish. The process is pretty insane to witness. Scientists studying them say it's one flick of a tail followed by a mess of ruptured swim bladders and broken spines, which the thresher shark immediately eats. Don't let the kawaii gubby distract you from the fact that if you're a fish, the thresher can demote you to flesh confetti in 2 camera frames. But the thresher can also package 12 years of prejudice on a person with one hit. There are
I can't, it looks like a lost child.
frames, but the thresher can also package 12 years of prejudice on a person with one hit. There are legends of fishermen messing with a thresher until it swung its tail and took one of their heads off. Now, do I believe a grown man genuinely got his shit smacked smooth off? Not really, but the same power slap Pokemon that's eternal Nyquil to fish and even some birds, like yeah, they will bird strike Tweety right out the air, could easily knock your teeth out and probably break your neck. But again, there isn't really a record of a thresher shark attacking a person, and if there is, you definitely did something. If you make a shark that looks like a kid caught with a DS under the pillow at 2 a.m. choose violence, you ask for it in everything but writing. He's just a shy shark, but he's not the shy that's a shy shark. Haplobepharus edwardsii is a type of cat shark, also called a happy eddy. The Haplobepharus genus has 3 other species: the plain happy or the brown shy shark, the pretty happy or the dark shy shark, and the natal shy shark.
Do you have games in your phone? Aw shark.
Or happy chappy. And the happy eddy's more common name is the puff adder shy shark, named puff adder due to sharing the venomous serpent's skin pattern. But it's also been called the donut.
Mom, tell me, is my turn to play Aw shark?
Because their personality is the polar opposite. When the puff adder shy shark gets scared, it'll curl itself into a ring and cover its eyes with its tail. That way it protects its vital organs and makes the shark harder to swallow. It also makes them virtually invisible off the fact that if they can't see you, surely you
Amen, I feel bad.
can't see them. Or they'll just play dead and pray that whatever triggered it loses interest. To be fair, it's not for no reason. Happy Eddy is a crazy name for a shark that gets bullied by everything. Bigger sharks like seven gills will prey on them, and fur seals have been seen using shy sharks as chew toys. Worst part is, a lot of times the fur seal play session only gets interrupted when a kelp gull steals a shark just to eat itself. The shy shark basically gets passed around like a baton at the Oppression Olympics. Scientists studied the sharks in False Bay, and if they didn't get their heads ripped off by a fur seal, or swallowed whole by an avian antichrist, they just end up discarded as a lifeless corpse back into the sea. They also get murked by fishers, who tend to see them as a pest, which is why the puff adder shy shark isn't just shy, it's endangered, and only found in waters off South Africa. And to be honest, he should be shy, and scared, but not nervous, because we already have one of those. I feel bad for the nervous shark. Even its Latin name couldn't resist throwing astray, which means the shark essentially gets called a punk in multiple languages. There's nearly 200 species of shark that can be found in Australia, and the nervous shark seems to be the only one who knows it, as they're incredibly shy and timid. Nervous sharks are notoriously difficult to get on camera, because most won't let you get close enough to try, which means this is one of the few times where the prey is infinitely scarier than the predator, as nervous sharks have been known to
Bro is kinda shy.
eat venomous sea snakes. That same shark requires the mannequin challenge just to be perceived, because any small movement or even the click from a camera sends them swimming off into the abyss. It's actually not uncommon to see them in a group, or a shiver as it's called, but let one lay an eye on you and the whole show will go ocean incognito. And with all they do to social distance from us, it makes sense that almost every picture of them taken was against their will. So imagine what it's like to be a blue shark. Blue sharks look like they were told a dirty joke years ago and are still shocked as hell at the punchline. Like the thresher, blue sharks have big eyes to help with hunting and clocking prey in the dark, since the predatory pinhead does most of his work at night. And like many sharks, blues use counter shading, meaning if you're looking at them from above, the blue roof blends in with the blue from the abyss, but if you're below them, the white underbelly disappears in the light from the sky. But it's possible the color-coded camouflage is for hiding from more than just prey. In 2012, dive operator Chris Follows was leading a group a little off Cape Town as usual, with a group of 10 blue sharks pulling up on the bait Chris had set. Chris was a 20-year dive veteran at this point, so this wasn't new to him, or at least it wasn't until a big male fur seal spawned in and tore one of the sharks in half and started feeding on its abdomen. He then eviscerated another shark, and for dessert, he bisected a third. The seal savaged 5 sharks in a row until Chris eventually shoved off, but it's likely the seal clutched a 1v10 with very little effort. As insane as that was, if Chris had a nickel for every time he watched a shark get murked by a seal, he'd have 2 nickels. Cause in 2004, he watched the first seal chase down a blue shark, toss it into the air, just to disembowel it and eat his stomach and liver. So forgive a predatory Poindexter if he looks like he's
Lol.
constantly afraid of getting his lunch money taken. It's actually one of the reasons blue sharks aren't super common in aquariums. They're not super hard to feed and house, but they often get bullied by tank mates like bull, gray reef, sandbar, and sand tiger sharks. And by bullied, I mean the blue sharks got eaten alive in front of a live viewing audience as soon as it got introduced to another species. That, and they have the habit of brushing against tank walls until they rub their skin raw and die of an infection. Who would have thought that a shark that can travel thousands of miles in a year essentially self-destructs in a fishbowl? But they're not as neurotic as a nervous shark, and they've been nicknamed blue dogs for apparently having the personality of a puppy. The same fish that would get shoved into a locker at shark school is inquisitive and will investigate human divers, where they'll bump you and prod you, but not like in a predatory, intimidating way, but the way a toddler might try to get your attention while you're on the phone. Now, I don't want to do the whole sea puppy thing because a blue shark will bite the goodwill out of you, but on the phone. Now, I don't want to
Album cover pic. Nah bruh, why they look so funny?
do the whole sea puppy thing because a blue shark will bite the goodwill out of you, but mostly in the same way a squirrel bit me as a kid, mostly by accident and largely by my own actions. In their defense, there have been 13 recorded blue shark bites on humans in history, with 4 deaths. On the other side, the blue shark is the most heavily fished shark, with up to over 80% of the sharks dying as bycatch being blue sharks, meaning millions of these sharks get murked by people a year, and most of them are just a casualty. Clearly the blue shark can't catch a break, which might be why they have to personally screen any human in their area. But if you're looking to get in the water with sharks for the first time, you can't really go wrong with a pretty blue. And not just because they're as close to harmless as a torpedo with teeth can get, because you're almost guaranteed to get a picture like this. Or this. Maybe even this. Or my, oh my fucking days, what am I looking at? Who in the oh, that's George. The Port Jackson shark is named after Port Jackson, the Sydney Harbor, and that was named after Sir George Jackson. The Port Jackson shark is a harmless cinnamon roll of a predator, unless you're looking at it from the front, or if you step on them, because their dorsal spines are believed to be venomous. Though if you have the heart to step on this shark, you deserve the
Looks kinda pig to me.
consequences, especially because there's not really a case of a Port Jackson attacking a human, and I say not really because of what went down in 2011, which wasn't really an attack more than the Port Jackson clamping its mouth around a Victoria man's leg, but it wasn't hard enough to draw.
Bros are weird, their eyes.
blood, and the man was still able to swim away with the shark attached, so it was more like the shark version of an ankle bite, I mean a child hugging your leg. That is the closest a literal cuttlefish gets to violence. They don't even bite in the traditional sense. PJ sharks have smaller, pointed teeth in the front for things like small fish, and flatter teeth in the back to crush mollusks, and you can actually tell the age of a shark based on the type of teeth you find more of in their mouth. They also have some of the weirdest eggs I've ever seen. I know that kind of came out of nowhere, but I didn't know how to transition to the topic, and I could not let this slide. It looks like a screw, because that's exactly what mothers do. They'll screw the egg into rocks, coral, or any crevice so it doesn't get dislodged later. Unfortunately, that doesn't stop other fish or even other Port Jacksons from uncovering the eggs and slurping the egg yolk out like an amniotic go-gurt. But the main reason I'm bringing George up is because they're so cute it actually makes me angry. I guess that's just cuteness aggression. I aggressively want to protect this shark at all costs.
They look round and soft.
Now again, I don't want to push the sea puppy thing because I believe that could be just as bad for sharks as demonizing them. But the PJ makes that real difficult with the fact that they can form genuine bonds with people. Rick Anderson is an Australian diving instructor who's been in a nearly decade-long relationship with a shark. Rick met her as a 6-inch freshly hatched Port Jackson pup while leading a diving class. According to him, he just wanted to show his students how friendly the shark.
OMG, the petting. To have a shark friend.
Jackson pup while leading a diving class. According to him, he just wanted to show his students how friendly the sharks could be and coaxed one of them onto his hand so he could give her a pet. In return, the shark showed Rick just how committed a she-shark can be, as she'd be attached to him ever since. Even as a 6-foot adult, she'd actively ignore and swim past other divers just to get her cuddle time with Rick. And no, he never fed her, he never even gave her a name yet, like a homing pigeon. If he was in the water, she'd find him. A beautiful story. For a shark so adorable, you could just take one and put it in your pocket if they didn't grow to the size of an NBA point guard. Luckily, there's a shark for exactly that, and you'll never guess its name. The pocket shark was found completely by accident. It was during a Gulf of Mexico expedition meant to study sperm whales that scientists found a shark that honestly looks like a whale nature shrunk as a vet. The name comes from the fact that you could honestly smuggle one in your pocket, but also for the small pockets these sharks have under their gills, which are filled with bioluminescent fluids. It's believed that this imitation whale squirts glow-in-the-dark ink as a distraction against predators. We say believed because we can only assume off of the 2 specimens that have ever been caught. What's not a theory is that this baby-faced bioluminescent flashlight has invariably increased my will to live. Although you could say that about any shark here. And on top of that, that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to humbly beg you not to use this video as an excuse to cuddle up to a shark. Not only could that be remarkably bad for your health,
A
but
rare shark.
treating a whole predator like a sea puppy might be just as bad as seeing every shark as another installment of Jaws. You can love them, hate them, I'd rather you love them, but damn it, you're gonna respect them. Make sure you drink water, hug your mother, do not hug a shark, please. Touch grass, call your father. Thank you all for another great year, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
Oh, I got one right here.
He's got your wiki!
What the heck's he got? He didn't get your piece, did he? Think we're gonna have to kill him, Irv?
Yeah. Yes!
Write this down.
That was very cool. Now I learned there's lots of different cool sharks. Fortius. Lololo. My brodas as all the good things this had come to an end. Thanks for being here this first day or second day of the year. I am mega grateful for y'all time today, thanks a lot. Let's start this year with a good mood and cool vibes, but we can't be more cooler, Lololo. My brodas, please take lots of care. Thanks for sending vids, for being here for everything. Please take lots of care. Drink lots of water. And donate plasma if you can. Thanks again for being here. Love y'all lots. Take care. Enjoy rest of the day or night. Thanks for watching. Stuff with me was fun AF. With this stream I declare 2026 start. Let's work hard for our goals and dreams. Love y'all lots. Take care. Now is official, my lady.